My name is Bessie Karis Lazarus, and I am the chair of the Affiliate Network Professional Council. And you have joined our webinar, Global Advocacy Perspectives from Around the World. So I'm glad to see all of you here. And I'd like to send you a welcome from anywhere you are. I happen to be in Europe right now, but I live in California. My affiliate is CATESOL, but right now I am in Greece. So, so wherever you are, welcome. So I wanted to give a little overview of our agenda for today. We'll be here for an hour with you. And I'm going to begin with some introductions about the ANPC, tell you a little bit about our speakers. And then in the order that you see here, each of our speakers will give a 10-minute presentation. And at the end, you will have an opportunity to ask them any questions that you may have. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about the ANPC. As I mentioned earlier, ANPC stands for Affiliate Network Professional Council, and our association by helping them ensure a strong and robust affiliate network. And we do that by not only connecting with our 115 affiliates around the world, but also by providing information to our affiliates, by networking with them, by presenting at their webinars or conferences, and also helping them connect with other affiliates around the world. And of course, working very closely with our larger organization, TESOL International, which we're all connected with. So let me tell you a little bit about our ANPC board. I am the current chair. My affiliate is CATESOL in California. We also have with us Lynn Fung. She is the chair-elect, and she is from Three Rivers TESOL in Pennsylvania, and James Papel, who is our past chair, and he is from TESOL, Ontario in Canada. So you'll be hearing from them too. Now our speakers, a little bit about our speakers. We have a very interesting group of individuals who are going to be sharing information about advocacy. Our first is Jeff Hutcheson. He is the Director of Advocacy and Public Policy at TESOL International Association. And as you can see from his very interesting bio here, he leads the association advocacy and public policy efforts to support local, state, and federal and global issues that advance the interest of TESOL members and affiliates. He also is the founder of Global Ed Professionals, and he has 25 years of experience in higher education. He is the former International Admissions Director at Rider University and former Director of Business Development and Director of U.S. Operations for ELS Educational Service. So definitely has a very strong and interesting background and a lot to contribute to TESOL's advocacy efforts, which he'll be telling you a little bit about in a few moments. Our second individual is Anthony Burik, and I think Jim, you were going to introduce Anthony.
Thank you. So Anthony is the president of California TESOL. He is a coordinator.
Jim,
he is a coordinator with the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network, or OTAN, a California leadership project that focuses on assisting adult education staff with integrating technology into instruction and curriculum. He provides face-to-face and online training at sites and conferences across the state and assists with managing OTAN digital content and digital communications. He has been a language educator for over 25 years, and he has a master's in library and information science from San Jose State University, a master's in social studies education from Teachers College at Columbia University, and a bachelor's in history from the University in Berkeley. And just see if we can get that. He has helped lots of a variety of positions as an educator and an administrator in the U.S. at Mount Diablo Adult Education in the Francisco Bay Area, in Guatemala, and in Korea. And he has also held a variety of other positions as well. We are very, very welcome to have him in his role as CATESOL President and Chapter Coordinator, Chapter Council Chair, and Outreach Coordinator. Thank you very much for being with us, Anthony.
Okay, thank you, James. And that our next speaker is Grazzia Maria Mendoza Chirinos, and Lynn was going to introduce Grazzia.
It's my pleasure to introduce Grazia with us today. I have known Grazia since my involvement with the ANPC because she has been very active and supportive of what we do. She's an education specialist at USAID Honduras. She manages and designs education projects to support the Ministry of Education in ensuring access, quality of education, and safe learning spaces. She has been a language educator for 28 years and is a consultant and teacher trainer. She holds an MED in International Education and an MA in TESOL. She has held a variety of positions in K-12 as well as higher education and trained teachers in different parts of the world for over a decade. She has been recognized by the U.S. Department of State alumna for teachers' professional growth projects and by TESOL International for scholarship and service through the Virginia French Allen Award. Her research interests include CAL, CBLT, and methodological improvements for professional development. She is the founder and former president of HELTA TESOL in Honduras, former president of Latin America and Caribbean TESOL, and past member of TESOL International Board Association Board of Directors, where she served as chair of the Finance Committee from 2021 to 2022. Welcome and thank you, Gracia.
Thank you very much, Lynn, and thank you, Grazia, for being here. And I would also like to introduce Julio Gutierrez. Julio is the president of Peru TESOL Association, and he holds a language teacher degree from Trujillo National University and a master's degree in research and university teaching from UCT. And he is an ELT academic advisor and is running a language center. So welcome, Julio. And we look forward to hearing about you and your efforts in Peru. So with that, I would like to kind of give you a little overview of the order of events. As I mentioned, whoops, sorry, backwards. We were going to begin with Jim Hutchison, who is the Director of Advocacy and Public Policy at TESOL International. And Jeff is going to tell us a little bit about TESOL's mission and in terms of advocacy, and he's also going to give us an overview of the June Advocacy Summit that took place in Washington, D.C. So, Jeff, if you would like to begin.
Well, thank you very much, Bessie. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be to all of our guests with us today. Let me just put this up here and I'll start sharing my screen as we go through this. So give you a little background. You saw my introduction, and thank you very much, Bessie, for that introduction. I very much appreciate that. And I appreciate ANPC giving me the opportunity to talk about what we're doing with advocacy, and also a little bit of time to introduce myself. As many of you well, some of you may know, and some of you may not know, I am relatively new to this position with TESOL, having just started at the end of May. However, I have been involved with this position for about a decade and a half. Not listed in my bio, I have served on the board of what is now English USA. At that time, it was the American Association for Intensive English Programs. And we did a lot of advocacy work, and I worked closely with TESOL and other associations as we were effective in getting legislation passed into law in the US that impacts and supports English language programs in the US. This was primarily on the higher ed side. But have had opportunity this spring to come on board with TESOL. I've kept in touch with all of my colleagues throughout the years that have impacted and been so effective in advocacy and support of our constituents at TESOL International Association, both in terms of the profession and the professionals, but also especially the students whom we serve. So today I wanted to give you an overview, excuse me, not an opportunity, but an overview of what we are doing and what we are setting or casting vision for as we go forward, and what we hope to be able to do and intend to do was we embrace a new, I don't know if you'd call it a phenomenon, but it's a wonderful reality that we have now at TESOL International Association, that our membership is now over 50% international. If you have worked with our advocacy in the past, you may know that we have focused on U.S. policy, primarily at the federal level. That's why you see in the background the U.S. state capitol. That is where we like to go and talk to our legislators and see if we can affect policy to make things more accessible for our teachers and provide the resources needed for all of our students throughout, whether it's PK through 12, whether it's higher ed, whether it's adult ed. So impactful of all of those. But now with a constituency, a membership that is over 50% international, we need to rethink how we're looking at advocacy and how we support our members and what impact we can have on a global level. I will give you an overview today that will speak to what our summit, our advocacy summit that we held in June, just an overview of what we did, but I will spend the majority of my time talking about what we're looking at as we go forward. And I am delighted that we have many people from across the globe here today, because you are the people I want to get to know as we reach out and begin to hear from our affiliates, our members across the globe, so that we can advance and move forward in our advocacy efforts. So just very briefly touch upon just what we are about when we talk about advocacy and policy at TESOL. If you go to our website on Advancing the Field, you'll see that it notes here, TESOL International Association aims to foster respect for the profession of TESOL, for its practitioners, the profession's student, and the profession's student constituency. And it's this last part that I hope to speak to a little bit more today. It says TESOL's advocacy program addresses issues, I should have an S on there, I didn't do a grammatical check, my apologies, issues that affect the profession worldwide. So I want to talk about that. We look at that both through our education and research, but also in our advocacy, which is that second point, affecting public policy, legislation, budgets, and access. Sometimes the old computer, oh, there we go. Okay, let's make sure, yeah. So right now, our priorities, what we have and what I am tasked with is looking at primarily our U.S. state and local levels, as well as our U.S. federal level, and what legislation or what regulations or policies are being moved through the system and how that impacts our membership. And also listening to the membership about how we can influence that legislation, how we can influence policy and regulation for the benefit of our membership. One part of this not listed on here is the fact that we also have to pay attention in the United States how our courts move. So sometimes we can see things that begin to move through our court system. It might happen at the local or state level, and then we'll move into circuit court, which akin to regional type access adjudication, and then on to the U.S. Supreme Court. And we need to keep an eye on that as well, because it does impact what we do and how we provide our services. As well, we look at international issues, and these historically in the position that we have here have been in terms of mobility, student mobility, going back and forth, but also delivery and access to professional development opportunities, and also empowering the field. Most recently, TESOL has had opportunity to deliver, actually it was a week-long conference in Uzbekistan there, and just to bring all the teachers there together, provide that professional development opportunity, and also for their voices to be heard in what they're doing and how things are impacting them in their day-to-day operations. We also have our annual summit. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. We also put out position statements. Sometimes these position statements are specific and only with TESOL. Sometimes we align with some of our partners. For example, we just recently signed a position statement with several of our coalition partners advocating for more money for our English language learners here in the United States at the K through 12, so elementary and secondary level. We also do a lot of work with our coalitions. We have coalitions that focus on national literacy for adult education, coalitions that focus on student mobility for higher education, and for those not familiar, in the United States, we have some recent, well, I say recent, it just celebrated its 10-year anniversary of executive orders that have been beneficial to those that have come to the United States as young children who came undocumented, and then find themselves kind of caught up in the as adults that they have only known the United States as home, but they do not have a legal status and standing. We have been, matter of fact, that was one of our positions that we had as a priority in our summit just last month. Unfortunately, just earlier this week, an amendment that would have made that codified into law to protect these individuals, it was struck down. So we continue our efforts and advocacy to affect that. We also do workshops. When I talk about workshops, I'm focused here upon advocacy. So how we can reach into our local and state levels to help people understand what advocacy is and how they can be better advocates, whether it's grassroots or grass tops, as I say. The grassroots is impacting that which is around them, could be community, could be school, could be local districts, etc. And then the grass tops would be coming from the federal level and how that impacts. And then we're also working on thought leadership. We are putting together a series of conversations with our members, as well as key figures within government positions that impact, our membership. So we want to hear from them, what they're doing, looking on the horizon, what is happening. And we will be extending this to a global level as we have, we will be working with our affiliates to bring voice to what is happening in your particular region, and how we can begin to share and collaborate with that. One of my favorite times a few years ago, I had opportunity for about 3 or 4 years to attend the Global Alliance for Education and Language Associations, which was a convening of education and language associations from across the globe to discuss what were the issues that they were facing, challenges they were facing, whether it was a policy issue, whether it was an access issue, mobility across borders, funding issues, etc. So while we came from different backgrounds, had different government structures, different processes, a lot of the challenges we found commonality in. And so we were able to share what we were doing and to support each other in that. So it's in that vein that we hope to be able to do that, or that we not hope, that we will be doing that with our membership around the world, to hear the voices from our members, wherever they are. So our annual summit, and Bessie, please shoot me a quick little text or something if I'm starting to run over. Sometimes I do get a little long. back in June, we had our annual summit. We had a day and a half, well, actually 2.5 days, in which we had about 50 people, both virtually and on site, participate in training on advocacy, as well as updates, not just on policy from our Department of Education, Department of State, but also updates from the field, what is happening, whether it might be budget related, process related, and how people could become better advocates when they talk to their members of Congress. We also were able to hear from our partner associations and affiliates in that summit. One of the highlights, if you have had opportunity to attend the international convention that we have Roger Rosenthal, who regularly participates and brings a very valued perspective in terms of the legal rights in the United States of immigrants as well as English language learners, and how it's impacted both at the secondary and higher education levels. So we hope to be able to begin expanding that and bring that beyond just the borders of the U.S. and to look at that from a global perspective. We also spent much time on our legislative priorities. We had about 8 legislative priorities that focused on from our secondary, elementary, secondary education, as well as our adult education and our higher education. So the participants were able to learn more about whether it was a particular law or bill or advocating for policy, or in some cases, we advocated for more money for funding within our school systems from our government. And then the highlight of the summit was the opportunity to meet with our members of Congress. For those of you who do not know, I'll touch on this very briefly. In the United States, we have 3 branches of government. We have our executive branch, which is the presidential role. We have our judicial, which you may have heard there's been a lot in the news, at least in the US, about the Supreme Court and some of the decisions that have been coming there. And then we have the legislative branch, which consists of our members' House of Representatives, as well as our senators. House of Representatives are by population throughout the states. And then each state also has a senator that they bring. So we have 50, 2 senators. So we have 100 senators from the Senate side, 2 per state. And then we have representatives. I'm trying to remember how many off the top of my head. It's well, okay, forget it, a lot of representatives. But it's that part of the government, the legislative part, that makes the laws. And that's where our focus was on policy, on advocacy, so that we can influence those lawmakers. And we had opportunity to go up and meet with them first time since the pandemic. So it was very good to meet people in person. And I just wanted to share with you a few of the pictures we had. Let's see, where am I? Here we go. I don't have the annotate. Okay, I thought I had the annotate. This is the picture in the middle is the group. It cut off a little bit. I'm actually standing over on the side. I cut my picture off there. And then we also, this one to the left of your screen, you'll see this young man in the suit. And then I don't know if you can see it, but in the background on the screen, this was one of the members of Congress who talked to us directly. He is a Congressman Langevin from Rhode Island. He is a champion when it comes to English learners and bilingual education in the United States. So he is always welcome to talk. And this was Nick Pennington, one of his staffers, who gave us great insights into the process, but also navigating for the Hill visit. Matter of fact, he even gave us the password to the Wi-Fi in the House building. So that was a fun little element to it. But here I wanted to highlight, when we meet with our members of Congress, sometimes, and this, I've got pictures here, this is from our Carolina TESOL affiliates. They actually met with their congressman in his office. Some other Carolina affiliates met with their congresswoman outside in the hallway. And then our Minnesota affiliates came in and they found their congressman at a coffee house. So it just kind of gives you a variety and a taste of the experience that our members are able to participate in when they go. They're able to bring the legislative issues to them. They get to know their members of Congress, and they form that relationship. And it is that key relationship that we have with our members of Congress that makes our advocacy efforts much more effective in what we do. So I want to talk a little bit about where we're going from here. And what I have on my agenda for at least for the next year. And I'm going to put this into 5 main points. You'll see over to the left, it says advocacy training, affiliate engagement, government engagement, international impact, and thought leadership. Advocacy training, in addition to the summit, we also are bringing our advocacy workshop out to local levels. We're working with coalition partners as well as reaching out with affiliates. Matter of fact, I was just on an email this morning with Carolina TESOL about what we can do to better support and bring our training and work with our affiliates in that. So we'll have well, to use a government phrase, a bipartisan engagement with our affiliates for that. So we'll be doing advocacy training. Now, what that will look like once we continue to grow into the international portion, it will be very different. While we might have some elements in terms of being advocates, we want to do more of bringing together the environment in which we can share our own advocacy efforts from our different regions, different markets, different countries. One of the goals is to hopefully begin to work towards what we have a name for now as an advocacy symposium in which we can bring together voices from around the world, again, to discuss, to do workshops, training, and just become better advocates back in our own regions. Also, affiliate engagement. This is part of these efforts. Being able to talk to you today, I'm very pleased that we have such a global presence in the participants today. And so I will be reaching out over the next few months. You may hear from me directly. Grazia, I may be reaching out to you directly so we can have regular conversations, Julio as well in Peru. But I'm also reaching out to our affiliates in the US across the states and the regions as we listen. As we listen, that is really a big key of advocacy. A lot of times you think about advocacy as going out doing. Well, it's also listening. We want to know what are the issues, what are the challenges, and what are the opportunities that our affiliates are facing, and how can we come along and support? How can we share resources? What can we do to support and encourage in that process? We're also doing more with government engagement. We have very close relationships in the US with our Department of Education and our Department of State. We want to begin to expand that and how we look across the globe at engagement. One of those efforts, in which actually kind of leads into the international impact. We had a Washington D.C. advocacy summit focused on U.S. policy, U.S. issues, and we had virtually some attendees from outside the U.S. And they talked to me afterwards. Well, I didn't quite understand it because this has no relevance to us. Well, how can we begin to make our efforts have that international impact, bring in that flavor to it? And for next year, one of the things that we are working on for our summit in Washington, D.C. Is to have a reception at the Senegalese embassy. You may know that one of our board members is part of the government in Senegal, and so we're working with him, and hopefully we'll be able to have a reception there and bring in an international element to that summit. We want to expand from there and how we can begin to engage more across the globe. And then lastly is that thought leadership. I spoke a little bit about that before, so I won't go too far into that. But if you do get an email from me that asks if you had 10, 20 minutes for a conversation to talk about advocacy and policy and challenges in your area, in your region, please say yes, because we would love to be able to put that together and then have that out for all of our membership, just so that, again, adding that voice and hearing from you, the experts out there across the globe. So that's an overview of what we are doing here in the United States in TESOL International Association to ensure that our advocacy and policy efforts are not just U.S., but are at across all levels, both domestically in the U.S., federally, and then reaching out globally. So thank you for this opportunity. Very pleased to participate in this. And I look forward to to catching up and getting to know all of you on a more personal level as we talk about the issues of importance, not just here in the United States, but also across the globe, and how we can better support and work together. I have here, I got at least 3 different ways. I didn't know if we'd have anyone from China on, so I put my WeChat up there just in case if we had anyone from China. WhatsApp. I do have, what is that? Line, I think if you're from Taiwan or Japan or Korea's Line. I do have one of those. If I have anyone from the Pacific Rim that would prefer that, I have that as well. Be happy to share that. But I know that WhatsApp is one of the preferred methods of communication, so I'll put my WhatsApp number there as well for you. So look forward to hearing from you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, Jeff. We really appreciate it. I think that was a lot of really vital information that we got. And I know that we have a busy schedule today, so I want to jump right into our next speaker, if that's all right. We have Anthony with us from California TESOL. So I'll turn it over to you to bring up your slide deck, if you don't mind.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And thanks, Jeff, for that presentation. Lots going on at TESOL, which is very encouraging, right? There's a lot to plug into as an affiliate. Let me get my slides going here. Okay, so again, everyone, I'm Anthony Burik. I'm currently the president of CATESOL in California in the United States. I've actually been with CATESOL since about 2008. CATESOL is an organization that is near and dear to my heart, as many of our affiliates are. I'm sure you have the same perspective as well. So I'm going to talk about advocacy in a slightly different manner. Jeff kind of gave us this broad overview of what TESOL is up to in terms of advocacy efforts and the different initiatives and such. I want to talk about an issue that's been very close to us in CATESOL for the last few years, diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI. What I'd like for us to think about today is, as I'm kind of giving you what's been up in CATESOL for the last couple of years, what is the DEI issue, in quotations, in your affiliate? And so maybe it's DEI, maybe your affiliate is also kind of looking at DEI issues as well. Maybe it's social justice, maybe it's gender equality, maybe there's some big issue that's current in your affiliate, in your state, in your country, in your region. And maybe this is potentially a catalyst for advocacy within your affiliate. So that's kind of how I'm going to approach the topic of advocacy today in terms of CATESOL. Just a little bit of history, though. Until 2019, CATESOL actually had a paid state legislative advocate, and he was a person who was an advocate for CATESOL for a number of years. We also have had kind of variations or varieties of advocacy teams within CATESOL. And then 2019 came, and the financial bill came due for CATESOL. And I know that my colleague Susan Gare, many of you know Susan. Susan's talked about some of the financial trouble that CATESOL was in 2019, and the amazing amount of work that Susan did in her presidency to sort of right the financial ship for CATESOL. But 2019 came, and so we had to adjust. And so one of the things that we had to do then was actually let go of our state legislative advocate. We just couldn't afford to pay him anymore because we didn't have any money. And then, as we all know, 2020 came with COVID. And so what's very interesting to me, and maybe we'll have some time at the end to talk about this as well, is how has COVID impacted your affiliate in terms of advocacy? I've, as president, as the incoming president with Susan, and then now as president of CATESOL, I've really tried to think about how CATESOL as an organization can take some of the lessons that we've learned from COVID and really apply them to the organization moving forward. So with our DEI work in CATESOL, this is kind of how I think about it. I want to kind of understand, like, how do we create the internal capacity to do both internal work and external work, right? We could form an advocacy team at CATESOL, and yet, would that team actually be able to put in the work to do the advocacy work? What would be their direction? What would be their kind of mission? So I'm really thinking about, again, from our time in COVID, kind of the COVID pause, I'm calling it, is how do we sort of create the internal capacity to do the things that we want to do, including advocacy work? So I want to kind of walk through some of the things that we've done as an organization over the last couple of years and think about sort of what's been the internal work that we've done on DEI, and then also what's been the external work that we've done with DEI. So really for us, DEI kind of started in a big way in 2020 we created a DEI task force internally within the organization. Again, this began in the wake of the George Floyd murder and the protests in the summer of 2020. Some of you may be familiar with what happened in the United States then. Eventually, this DEI task force became a group of 7 members. So, and they kind of started meeting and talking about DEI and what were some of the things that we could do within CATESOL to start becoming more of a DEI organization. So a couple of the things that the task force did early on, which were sort of external initiatives, were we issued a couple of statements. So one was a statement on racial and social injustice, again, in the wake of the 2020 summer protests in the United States. And then also we issued a statement in response to the January 6, 2021 insurrection, which currently is in the news in the United States right now. But these were some of the early efforts of the DEI task force. They felt it was important to issue these statements, not only from a DEI perspective, but also from an advocacy perspective, to say that these were some of the things that CATESOL was concerned about, its members were concerned about, and we wanted to make sure that the field sort of understood that we had these perspectives on these issues. Another thing that has really been more kind of an external impact is really kind of raising the profile of DEI sessions at our conferences. So I think we did this really in 2 ways. One was we actually went to the task force itself. They weren't off on the sidelines somewhere just doing its work, right? We actually solicited proposals from them. And we said, we really want you, task force members, to bring these proposals and presentations to our conferences so that people understand that these are things that we need to start thinking about as an organization and as a field. The other thing that we also did was we encouraged this from during the proposal submission process itself. So we made sure it was clear that if folks wanted to submit a DEI-oriented session during the conference, whenever it was, that these were welcome and encouraged. So we really had to make it very explicit for folks to to say, like, these are issues that we really want to talk about as an organization, and bring them to the forefront. So that's what we did in terms of conferences. Internally, we actually created 2 new board positions. One was a DEI chair, who is a voting member of the board. And then we also have an assistant chair as well. So again, bringing that sort of raising the profile of DEI to say, at the board level, at the top level of the organization, well, at this level of the organization, we really want to talk about DEI and have it be prominent in terms of what we're talking about as a board, as a leadership group, in terms of setting the direction of the organization. Also, kind of within the organization, some other things that we've done that are DEI related is we started a new LGBTQ plus interest group. So we have a number of interest groups within CATESOL. This is one of our new interest groups. We also have, I know a lot of affiliates have kind of a software program to manage the membership affairs. So we've actually created a DEI message board. This is open to any member of CATESOL to join in on the conversation about DEI. And from the membership level, to help kind of set the direction of DEI, what are the things that we should be thinking about as an organization? What are the DEI priorities that we should be talking about? So we've done a lot of things in the last couple of years. And then, so now kind of with the foundation in place, what are some of the things that we want to work on both internally and externally kind of moving forward? So at CATESOL board meetings, as the president, I've tried to carve out significant chunks of time during the agenda to turn it over to my fellow board members for conversations about a variety of issues affecting the organization. I know sometimes for those of us who have sat through board meetings over the years, we know that sometimes they can be very dry affairs, and the agenda is pretty filled for the time, and there isn't really an opportunity to hear from folks. So I've really kind of, I really see it as a DEI issue. I've really thought about, as a president, how do we sort of reorganize our time together so that I, as the president, can hear from many people who serve at the board level and the leadership level, not just like one or two folks, right? So I've tried to take advantage of the expertise in the room and really, make sure that those voices are heard when we have our board meetings and our leadership events. Of course, the CATESOL website, many affiliates I'm sure have a have a website, but this is also an opportunity for us as an organization to think about how are we kind of portraying our organization externally. If a teacher comes to the website and they're interested in CATESOL, what is their impression of CATESOL? Do they feel like they would be represented by this organization? Do they feel like they would be included in this organization? So we have a lot of work to do to kind of revamp our website and make it clear that, we are an inclusive organization. We honor diversity. We want diversity in the organization. But how do you show that kind of externally to folks who are thinking about, joining our affiliate? We also have talked about internally about a DEI strategic plan. So really thinking about the organization moving forward in its planning, but making sure we apply that DEI lens to our work so that we think about, who's included, who's not included, whose voices are we hearing, whose voices are we not hearing? How do we get those voices into the room? So this is kind of really a new perspective for us, and really, we really want to apply that lens to the work of our affiliate to make sure that we're getting a lot of folks included in the organization. And then, of course, going back to advocacy itself, we do want to kind of circle back to some of the advocacy work that we've done. But, thinking about what we've gone through the last couple of years, are there new causes to pursue as an organization, right? So in terms of citizenship in the United States, in terms of undocumented folks, in terms of pathways into post-secondary work or into the education system, post-secondary work, careers, citizenship, things like that. We've also talked about, how do we teach folks to advocate for themselves, right? I mean, we, as an organization, we can only do so much, but what about empowering our students, our colleagues, our friends, in California who are supporting us as well? What is some of the work that we can do? So again, just in closing, I'd like for all of you to kind of just think about what is the DEI issue within your affiliate, and could that issue be a catalyst for future advocacy work that you might do in your organization? So thank you for letting me present. I'll stop sharing and turn it over to our next speaker.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for that great presentation. Since CATESOL is my affiliate too, I've been, it's many of the meetings where these topics are discussed. So I think CATESOL is making great strides in this area. And you have a lot of work to do, but you've also done a lot so far. So to move on to our next speaker, who is Grazzia Maria Mendoza from Honduras, who is going to be telling us about her advocacy efforts in her affiliate.
Thank you. And I'm not going to focus only on our affiliate in Honduras, but I'm going to touch on some examples from the region to take advantage of the platform, and especially to take advantage that Jeff is here so he can get some ideas on what the region is looking at in terms of issues and challenges and things that are happening. And I want to say thank you before I begin. Thank you to the ANPC. I think you're doing a great job in highlighting important topics and bringing them to the conversation in terms of the international affiliates and what our challenges are and the issues that are there. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for allowing us to have the conversations and lending us the platform to have these conversations. So in terms of advocacy, and when we were preparing for these sessions, Bessie was very kind to tell us, give us an outline of what you wanted to see. And she mentioned define advocacy. And when I was preparing, I was thinking, well, there are general definitions of advocacy, right? And I went to Merriam-Webster, and they have this nice definition: the act or process of supporting a cause, right? And that's what advocacy means. Then the UNHCR says that advocacy helps to transform policies and services that affect displaced and stateless people on a national, regional, or global level. So you're thinking about policy when we're talking about advocacy. But what we see in our region, what we see in Honduras, what we see in different places in Latin America and the Caribbean, is that there are people, and this goes to what Anthony was saying, we need to teach people to be advocates. I think in our region, people know how to be advocates. Where we have the challenges is, how do we generate change within the government in terms of policy? That's where challenges lie. So people are very good at advocating in their communities, in their sectors, engaging with donor groups, engaging with NGOs, and you're going to see that in the examples that I will show you. But where we are seeing our biggest challenges is, how do we influence policy changes and actually influence our governments to make changes? We have very bureaucratic governments that unfortunately are tampered by corruption, by deviation of budgets and funds to other things, not necessarily focused on providing access to education or improving access of learners to education materials, and not even access to learning English. Even if there's a law that says children from the first grade on have to learn English, there's nothing that's enforcing that. So that's where we see our biggest challenges, and you're going to see that in the examples that I will show you. So I will start, of course, with Honduras, my country, my lovely country in the middle of the American continent, the heart, I like to say. And what we see in our country is teachers working really hard to create their own materials, because the government is not providing materials for them. The teachers are creating their own materials and their own resources to actually work and to actually deliver their classes. We haven't had books for English teaching in, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years. So we haven't had access to books or materials for teachers, and teachers are looking for those on their own. The local affiliate helps and provides for them lesson plans and materials that we find through RELO or the US embassies, but there's no official material from the government that teachers can use to teach English. So access to resources, teachers are doing that on their own and advocating to get materials and engage with donor groups, for example, that help in creating materials not only for English, but creating materials for Garifuna, for example, for the ethnic groups in the northeast area of our country, in south east area of our countries, that whose native language is not Spanish, and definitely not English, so that they can have access to the materials in all the languages that they are learning, their native language and in Spanish and English. And also, how do we work with children living with disabilities? So through the donor groups, we have been working on translating materials to Braille, for example, so that our children can have access to those materials and have access to learning and have access to education. Donors and NGOs and the private sector have also been working in supporting access to libraries to promote reading, because we don't have a culture of reading. Our children don't like to read, but it's not because they don't like it just because they don't want to do it, it's because they don't have access to materials to do that. And we have engaged the community to be those advocates to support learning and to bring education to the center of the community, and to create those cohesive factors in the communities that not only provide access to quality education, but also that prevent our population to migrating irregularly, because that's something that's happening in our country, especially Honduras, Salvador, and Guatemala, where our population is migrating irregularly because they're seeking two things. They're seeking economic stability, because we are low-income countries, and they're also seeking quality of education. And also some support that has been given to school infrastructure. So there are things that groups are doing. It has been very difficult to influence the government in making the changes and having a budget that really supports what our learners need. Sometimes there might be a policy that needs revision. It takes too long. And then the next political party is in place, and then that doesn't happen. So that's where we are slow. Another example, and I'm thankful here to Monica Gandolfo from Argentina TESOL. She provided some examples from Argentina where there are foundations that are working to provide access to education at a different level. I liked her example about the mother groups. So there are mothers who are working in their communities to ensure that children have access to education, to support early childhood education, and to also support food security. And then again, we have donor groups that are working to support education health for children and youth, and making sure that the children and the youth are being supported. Again, changes to the government is very difficult, and changes in policy become difficult as well because of what I explained at the beginning. Then we have an example from Paraguay, and here Carol Ortiz from Para TESOL was sharing with me how the private sector, and specifically a news media outlet called ABC, has worked very hard, not only in creating awareness on the importance of education, but the provision of and access to free learning materials for learners, both in print through the newspapers, but also through TV. And also having mobile libraries that are moving around in communities to provide access to reading materials. And during the pandemic, she was sharing with me how WhatsApp was an important tool to deliver materials for learning to the children. But again, if you see the examples, Honduras, Argentina, Paraguay, you're going to see it's the people actually doing the advocating, and the influence at the government level. It's not seen. We are not seeing that, not too visible. And then Glenda Gallardo, who I think is here today with us, she also provided some great examples of what teachers have been doing in order to provide access to learners, to online materials, to online courses, or to learn at home materials. And I have all the links that they have shared with me that I can happily share with everybody. But what I wanted to show from these examples from Peru, from Paraguay, from Argentina, and Honduras is that it's the grassroots advocacy that's happening. Like Anthony was saying, it's the people who are actually doing the advocating, creating awareness. It's the affiliates who are somehow supporting the teachers and supporting the communities. But at the highest levels, it becomes a little bit more difficult as we move along those tiers. Our challenges, well, we have low-income families in our countries that lack access to quality education. They lack access to quality resources. Teachers have to be very creative and very resourceful. Some even have to bridge the gaps where the government is not providing, as I was explaining from the cases in Honduras. Some children and youth are not having access to materials in their native language. We still have to train our teachers on how to support multiculturalism in our classrooms and how to support learners living with disability. Teachers do not have access to sufficient PD. Associations advocate and usually support with their own resources, but many countries don't have an ongoing program for the government for professional development in place. There are no policy because usually there are no resources. And the private sector, I think, is a key partner in providing support in many of our countries, as you saw from the examples that I provided. Successes, I think we have been very successful at having very strong partnership in our support teacher networks. As Latin American and Caribbean TESOL, we have many affiliates within our group that support each other, and we lend a hand whenever it's needed, and we support us as much as we can. We take advantage of what donors and private sector can do for the countries. Teachers don't give up. I think that's a great thing when it comes to advocacy, having strong and committed teachers. Parents and communities are engaged. We are in the process of learning how to lobby the issues. I think we have learned how to navigate those waters, but we have still, we need tools that really get us to make changes in policy or influence changes in policy. I think a big and strong support that we have are the U.S. embassies in our countries in the RELOs that don't only provide exchange programs for teachers, but also access programs for our students, and also the RELOs in our region, who are the best partners that we have in order to move actions forward. So it's not all negative and all bad in terms of how we influence the government. It's just a very steep curve that we have to get to the top and actually influence change. But we we see advocate at the level of the people, that they understand the needs, they understand how to create awareness, and they navigate their own dynamics in their own countries to actually get to things moving forward and really making sure that our learners have what they need and what can support them to have access to quality education and to quality learning of English. And that's what I have from my side. Thank you. Thank you again for the invitation. It's really important to have these conversations. I don't think we hear Vessi. She's on mute.
Sorry about that. I was saying thank you very much, Grazia, for sharing all that important information and all those efforts being done in terms of advocacy. So very interesting information, and I hope it continues and things continue to improve. Thank you very much. So I would like to introduce our final speaker, who is Julio Gutierrez from, he's the president of Peru TESOL. So Julio, if you would like to begin.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Julio Gutierrez, the current president of Peru TESOL Association. I'm really very honored to be presented in this webinar on behalf of Peru TESOL Association, which I represent, the national board. No? So I want to share some, first, let me share, I prepare a PowerPoint to summarize everything that I'm going to say, I'm going to share with you. Okay, here we are. Yeah. Okay, give me a second. Okay, is what I prepared. I try to, because of the time, I try to summarize everything here. So here we are. Okay, what I'm going to share with you is about the Peru TESOL Association mission and language, and Peru language teachers education. How do we do that? In Peru, okay, to start with, to understand what advocacy is in Peru, first we have to know that teachers in Peru, they prepare in two branches, as English French or English German teacher profession. No, that includes 5 years of studies at university. Then we have some science like this. Our curriculum is very varied depending on the place you are. No, we have some philosophy, no, children and adolescents psychology courses, no, okay, linguistics, phonetics, conversation, didactics, methodology of language teaching, but not only in English. If we are French teacher, we have to study literature in French. If we are English and German teacher, we have also to study German literature, apart from English literature or history, no? So it's very varied according to the university place you study. And that depends, no? That depends on the place you are, where do you want to focus on your teaching? If you want to travel or no, you want to teach here in Peru, but most of them teach here. And some of us, our colleagues, travel to another countries to teach even Spanish or even to practice there, no, the French or German. Okay, what do we do? In this, when we are studying, we do some professional practice in schools, from kindergarten, primary, secondary, and even at university language centers levels. No, so we are trained to teach at any level. So teachers decide where they want to teach. No, or they want to be kindergarten teachers, or they want to be primary teachers, or they want to be the secondary, or they want to teach at high levels at university. Now, all language centers. So we choose where we want to teach. No. And apart from that, After this, we try to study advanced courses. Here in Peru, we call master degree, etc. And when we are working, so we try to continue studying and improving our knowledge and trying to get better professionals with learning new technologies and methodologies, etc. No? Here in Peru, it's very common to study a advanced degree. No? And here are some of the teachers, no, working with me and others that are in some training sessions. Okay. Here we've got, no? I want to, to share with you this, the mission. And for advocacy is involved here in everything. I try to prepare in that way so you can understand what we do, no, to help our teachers, no. Here, we focus on helping English teachers to improve the teaching learning, okay, the teaching and learning process, yeah, of the English at all levels of education. So here, with our mission, with Peru TESOL Association annual conventions, we want to help them to improve, no, how they teach, no, to have a memorable and meaningful class with their students. So we have to make our students enjoy, no, to make them love English or the language we are teaching. So our mission since the beginning has been that, no, to help teachers that help other teachers, no, in order to have a better class every day, no? Our mission here started, look at that time, in 1991. Oh, still, I was a student at university, but imagine from that time, since then, since university, we have that mission, not to, if we are going to teach at the school, we have to give the best of us, no? Why? Because we want our students to learn English in a meaningful way. It's what we really focus on, no? Because it's not just teaching and, okay, I give knowledge. No, we educate as well. So our job, our work as teachers is not only give knowledge, is to educate, to give values, teach values, no? So it's what we do. Okay, so here is our mission. It's part of the objective we have, no? To ensure excellence in English language teaching to speakers of other language. This is our mission, no? Here we've got some teachers that are in a convention with some very well-known speakers who usually come to our conventions to help everyone, even me, no? Even to learn something else, no? To learn from each other, because we learn from each other, no? So here we are. Look at that. Well, I've been talking about our values. This is Peru TESOL Association values. We focus on this, on professionalism, no, in language education, no, individual language rights, accessible high-quality education, collaboration in a global community, interaction of research and reflective practice for education and improvement, and respect for diversity and multiculturalism, no? Okay, so our values are focused on, since the beginning, to help our teachers to be involved and learn from each other, no, from only from Peru, from around the world, because when speakers come to our conventions, they exchange information, and so they have contact each other, no? Sometimes like this, okay, so we can share some ideas about this topic, and they do it, and that is really good, because it's just not a workshop that, where teachers attend and that's all. No, they get to know each other, they exchange experiences, they exchange their knowledge, they learn something new from each other, and also they keep contact among them, all of them. And also from that, maybe starts new relationships, new friendships, where they start exchanging what I said, maybe, okay, I want to do a new, I'm planning to do a research about this. Okay, I can help you from my phone. So they start doing this contact. I did it because for me, I started as an attendee. I was a member, and for me it was very rewarding to attend a conference, because it wasn't just a conference. I made friends, and some of them I continue keeping in touch and helping each other with some issues that we can face every day in our classroom. For example, okay, you want to talk with a student from another country, so we arrange and we have some conferences where students exchange their experiences and where they practice the language they are studying. So it's, wow, it's amazing, So it's not just a conference that we attend. It's more than that. Okay. This is our vision. I want to share with you this. I try to write everything. Maybe because you are, well, I'm talking, you can even read. Because the vision is we want to transmit, okay, more than knowledge. We want to transmit that they have a support behind all of that. This is our vision, and this is focused. The advocacy is involved, is here in the mission we have, in the vision we have, in everything we do to have our teachers train or be updated with the new technologies. Here you can see here, we just now focus on the local ones, only from what as Grazia showed, Peru, as many places, they have different provinces, or here say departments, or regions, but we involve all of them, and even some people from other countries come to our conferences, and even they share with us as well what they know. So what we focus is we foster the development of effective human communication among all of them. Okay, we exchange our cultural backgrounds, and that is good to meet people from Ecuador, from the United States, from Japan, from Honduras, from Colombia, from Australia, from Dubai. So when you see our conferences like TESOL International, like here, we exchange this knowledge, not only here, not locally, globally. And that is really rewarding for us. Okay. As you can see here, there are some photos, very nice photos. Where? Because here is what we say in these lines. We exchange the knowledge with people from other countries. Like here is Sulin. She was here in a conference when she was the president of Peru TESOL Association. And it was a pleasure to have her here, sharing new strategies, helping teachers to improve, new techniques or methodology we use every day. So our conferences help English teacher in all the educational levels. And that is very, very rewarding for us because you can see people from different parts of Peru and also speakers who come from other countries, and they shared, no, and exchange their experiences and knowledge with us. So this is what we do, no? We help our colleagues, no? It doesn't matter the background they have, but they are in every convention to learn something else. We receive, no, a certificate, no, when we attend a conference of 200 hours certificate, because here in Peru is very different. I don't know, maybe in other countries we are asked to have a background training, no? So every teacher tries to train or attend conferences in order to have to increase their CV, their curriculum vitae, no? And we give them this, no? Because now, and because it's online, we are giving a 100-hour certificate because they prepare a project, and it's said, where they share their experiences in class or a new technique they use, and the best ones are published in our books, no, in the convention book, and their names appear at the back, and we give them a congratulation letter in order to be attached in their curriculum. So teachers make an effort doing their projects. So it's what we do. It's part of this here in the goals, no? Part of our objective. Because we promote that. We promote our English teachers' professional development, no? So when they do this, they every year they try to improve maybe their project they did the previous year. So they are trying to outstand, no, be outstanding every year. So here it is, what we showed about advocacy. We promote improvement of English teachers as foreign language. No, we strengthen responsibility for the teaching of the English language using tools, new methodologies, etc., etc. Okay. We support the teacher on permanent and continuous basis through training through our conventions. Every year we have the training is reflected in our convention that we do every year. No, here it is. It's what we're talking about, you know. We project our academic work not only in a city, locally in the whole Peru, and even internationally, because people come like you come to help us, no, with only grain of sand, no, grain of knowledge every year. So we feel very pleased, very honored to have speakers like you in our conferences, no? And we keep, for example, communication with our members or the affiliates, because we are sending them every month our they receive articles. We receive, for example, the best projects are published and are shared with everyone. We send a bulletin every month, so they are able to apply this in their classrooms. No, as we see, knowledge is not to be only for one person. Knowledge is to be shared. And that's why we do this every year, and every month we share then what other people has done. No, as I told you, here it is. No, the Ryan essay, different topics, etc., etc. Okay. Can you see we get some facilities to exchange experiences, no? In universities, schools, and it's there where we organize our conventions, no? And it's there where people exchange everything they have learned, everything new they learned, no? Their experiences. We've got this, no? Every year.
Julio,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know we've got another minute before we have to jump to questions. Sorry to rush you.
No, don't worry. Yeah, I'm about to finish. So I try to do this. So thank you for that. And who can join here is all the teachers, no, from private school, public schools, every professional that are they really want to improve, no, in their language. And this is our slogans, and what is advocacy focused on? We, okay, Peru TESOL Association is association of English teachers helping English teachers. And Peru Teacher Association, where great teachers never stop learning, is what we do. And this is our annual convention for this year. So we are working on that this year. So I think it's very, very tough work for everyone who organizes a convention. So thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here. So maybe I try, that's why I wrote everything, because we have a lot to say, no, and to share. So I'm very pleased to be in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julio, for sharing that and for telling us about the advocacy efforts of Peru TESOL to have teachers help and empower other teachers. I think that's very important, what you're doing in your organization. So I know we've run a little bit over here, but we're going to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions, either speak up or, put your question in the chat and our speakers can address that. So. I just see a lot of thank yous here. Thank you, Julio. Thank you, all of our speakers. Any questions from anybody?
I think George has his hand up.
Okay, George, would you like to ask
Yeah,
your question?
yes, primarily, it's not a question, it's more of a comment and maybe some food for thought. So primarily, thank you to everyone for their presentations. I think they were all wonderful. It's a great opportunity to learn, again, from advocacy actions around the world. I think was more, what I wanted to say is towards TESOL. And at the beginning, we heard Jeff, and it was very interesting to see the Advocacy Summit. It's always very good to see all the action that's happening in DC. And I really like that, that summit is becoming more international. And I'm glad to hear that a more, like a symposium or more of international event might take place in the future. I think Uzbekistan was a good start. Maybe with the help and the support of local affiliates, maybe we can have some, more regional events. Yes, online, but also face-to-face. I know, organizing a regional event costs a lot, especially to TESOL and of course to affiliates. But I think if we go around the world in, 4 or 5 areas and we listen to what people have to say, like if we go to Central America and, Grazia, I know, gave us a very, very good overview of what's happening. But if people are there and they see, you don't only have to listen from, the teacher associations, you also have to listen from teachers themselves. Like you have to hear the real voices, because unfortunately we don't have access to all the teachers and what teachers have to say. And maybe practitioners and people who are dealing with those issues every day, maybe they have some more insight, something we didn't think about. So we also need to empower them, give them voice, go to different parts of the world. I mean, regionally, I know it would have been ideal to go to every country, but if it's regional, I think it might give a lot of support and empowerment to what I call, and I hate calling, the average teacher, the person who's in the class, right? Because we need to hear from them. And at the end of the day, we do so much, but it's the teachers that go through the most of the trouble. So that's what I wanted to say. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Well, thank you, George. Thank you for those suggestions. I think those are really great ideas. And hopefully something like that will come up in the future. Erin, you're raising your hand.
Hi.
Yes.
Yes, hi, thank you. It's so nice to see everybody and to hear all of these ideas. And I was also thinking back to some of what Jeff said about our international membership. And I know that in one of our other affiliate meetings, we talked about trying to collaborate among affiliates to share ideas, etc. And in the United States, we might think automatically about working with another US affiliate, but it might be interesting if there were a way that we would be able to pair with an international, a US affiliate with another international affiliate, or just to be able to either share a more targeted access to, say, calls for proposals or something like that, where we're able to invite like sister cities, exactly, Shelley, to invite the other affiliate to participate in some way. Because I do think we would all learn, again, like Julio was saying, we can all learn from each other. And anyway, there we go. Just an idea. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erin. And Anthony had a question too. He was raising his hand.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to, as George was talking, it reminded me of an idea that I've had that I'm trying to still think about how we can do in CATESOL. I'd like to maybe just see, I don't know what to sort of bring technology to bear on the issue here. Is there a way that we can set up like a button or a form or something on the CATESOL website where anybody could just fill out the form, or I'm not sure exactly what they would be doing, but I think filling out a form to say, I really would like CATESOL to think about X issue, or is CATESOL looking at this issue, maybe going on at the state level or the federal level, or I would like to get involved in CATESOL advocacy efforts or whatever, but basically a way to invite anybody, like George is saying, like, let's open it up to everybody, not just like this one group of people here or whatever, but let's open up the floor to anybody. But in order to sort of get their voice heard, and to make sure that make sure that button or form is not buried on the website, but it's very prominent. It's really an invitation for members, or even for maybe our colleagues in the field who aren't members of CATESOL, to kind of bring those issues to the organization's attention, so that then we could bring it to the board level, leadership level. We could talk about it. We could figure out strategy, things like that. So I think that there are ways to invite folks in, but we have to, like I was saying, we have to create the internal capacity to do that, and then make sure that folks know that it's available to them. So thanks, George, for your idea.
Very good. Thank you. And Joyce, you have a question or comment?
Just a comment, just to follow up. First, it's so wonderful that everybody could be here in the middle of July, in the middle of the summer. For those, it's hard to get people in so many voices. And I just want to reiterate what all you are saying and back up the fact that you are here through the ANPC. I had really the joy of working with everybody for those of you who don't know, I apologize. I'm Joyce, I'm president of TESOL right now, and it's really great that we're doing this. All of these initiatives with the ANPC over the past few months of bringing to light the different regions, it has really been helpful to get a feel for what's going on. And Now Shelley Taylor, who is in the corner of my screen. I don't know where she's living on your screen. Shelley is the incoming president. And I know that this is on, the global advocacy has been on her list for 30 years. This is a really strong focal point for her. The AMPC is there to do exactly the sort of activities, Anthony, that you're mentioning, is to bring all these people together around the world. But sister cities could be a wonderful way to do it. We have this newsletter. And for those of you who are the presidents of your associations, both within continental United States, within the Americas, all around the world, the ANPC newsletter is a really fabulous way to continue to have this global discussion, to be able to say, this is going on in my region, what can be going on with yours? But a big push that Shelley and Gabby and I, working with Amber, are focused on, really trying to bring everybody together and using Jeff as our conduit to do it. We are hoping now, our first step, one of the discussions that took place in Pittsburgh, was to get the heads of our professional councils together. So bringing ANPC and membership and conferences and nominating, et cetera, together. We're going to create a channel where people can talk there and bring that leadership into one room, because we're all working in different lanes on the highway to start that conversation. And that'll be followed by bringing the intersections and other leaders together. So ANPC, thank you, all of you. I use it as a term, but all of you as individuals for contributing your time to this across time zones. It's just been, I think, very knowledgeable for me, and I hope for you, and we'll keep it going, and all of the suggestions that you just gave. But Anthony, you're right, this idea of having it really visual, like how can we make sure that we're all in communication? I'll stop.
Thank you.
Evening.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening, day, wherever you are.
Thank you very much. And since you mentioned our newsletter and also our webinars, I have 2 slides. So if any of you are interested in contributing, we'll tell you what we've been doing and who you can contact. Let me just try to find that again here. And then Lynn will have a couple of slides to share in a minute. One second. Okay, so here we have a list of the webinars we've done so far. As Joyce pointed out, this year we decided to focus on different regions of the world, and it has been working very well. So Lynn, if you want to kind of summarize what we've done and what's coming next.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentations and your comments. We have done a few webinars focusing on different regions of the world. It has been really exciting, and it was exciting to have you today as well. Our next event focuses on Europe, so I invite you to maybe pay attention to your email that we're going to send later on, and sign up for that event. In October, actually, we just added another event for Maryland TESOL to share their handbook project, and we combine it with open educational resources, which I think will be an important topic for those who still lack materials, right? How we can share materials and access open resources as well. And in November, we're going to have an event on North and Latin America and the Caribbean as well. So I welcome you back. I think that's what I would like to share today. And just very quickly, if Betsy, if you can let me share my screen. I think everybody here already knows, but please, if you are not an affiliate of TESOL, you can join our affiliate network. And if you're not a TESOL member, you can also join TESOL member with this website here, tesol.org/join. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn. I also wanted to put in a little plug for our newsletter. And again, you're encouraged to contribute. Our newsletter comes out twice a year. Our newsletter editor is Jermaine McDougald. And if you'd like to contribute, you can just contact him. And I also have a link here, which we can put in the chat, and you can. Our next edition will be coming out in the fall. Okay, so we encourage you to share your what you've been doing and your ideas, in order to help connect our affiliates and with TESOL in general. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for joining us, for our speakers for giving such wonderful information and sharing what you've been doing in your organizations, and to Jeff, who's told us all about TESOL's mission and their advocacy efforts. So thank you. I know we went over, but I thought it was a very interesting webinar. Okay, so anything else? Hope to
Thanks,
see you
Betsy.
all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, everyone.
coming, and hope to
you.
see you all at our September webinar. So keep an eye out for our advertisement. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.